Felicia Carter lifted her teacup gently, her expression composed. I know it may not look like it on the surface, but I cherish Rosalie dearly, she said calmly. Rita watched her in silence, saying nothing. 10 years ago, shortly after Felicia married Marcus Amber, she sat alone in the garden, quietly enjoying her tea. She noticed a young girl approaching Rosalie, holding a bouquet of hand-picked roses. The child fidgeted nervously as she stepped closer. Felicia's gaze immediately fell on the bruises on Rosalie's hands. Go away, Felicia said curtly, picking up her cup again. I detest children. Rosalie flinched at her words, tears welling up in her eyes as she sniffled softly. My apologies, she stammered quietly before turning away. As she stepped back, one of the roses slipped from her hand, falling to the ground unnoticed. Felicia's eyes followed the fallen flower, her expression cold. Humph. What a toady little pest, she thought with irritation. A short while later, Rosalie approached her father. What is the matter, Rosalie? Marquise Amber asked gently, bending to pat her head. Rosalie blushed faintly, still holding back tears. Felicia watched them from a distance, grinding her teeth in silent resentment. How did I, the great Felicia Carter, end up marrying such a dull man with a foolish child? She thought bitterly, clutching her teacup tightly. It's infuriating. That evening, Felicia sat quietly with her eyes closed, pretending to sleep. What? Do like? Rosalie whispered softly, stuttering as she tried to speak. Shh! Marquise Amber hushed her gently. They didn't realize Felicia was awake, her ears twitching slightly at their voices. Are they talking about me while I'm asleep? Just try it. I'll destroy you both, she thought grimly. From a short distance, Marquise Amber looked down at his daughter. Rose, why do you stare at your stepmother like that? He asked. Rosalie smiled faintly. I love her so much. I wish I could embrace her just once, but I'm afraid if I did, she would wake up, so I'm embracing her with my eyes. Marquise Amber smiled softly, patting her head. My little Rose, how kind-hearted you are. He then took a sheet from his arm and gently covered Felicia with it. Your stepmother needs time. For now, all we can do is wish her sweet dreams, he said kindly. Okay, Rosalie replied with a bright smile as they turned to leave. Halfway down the path, Rosalie stopped. She let go of her father's hand and walked back quietly. Approaching Felicia, she reached out and lightly squeezed her stepmother's arm. Sweet dreams, mother, she said cheerfully before walking away again. Felicia slowly opened her eyes, watching them leave. What a strange pair, she thought quietly. Her eyes drifted toward the rose that had fallen earlier. Rising from her seat, Felicia bent down and picked it up. I may not be able to love Rose as my own, but I care for her as if she were a much younger sister, she thought. That's why I worry for her. Now, back in the present, Felicia sipped her tea as she spoke to Rita. The Alberhart name is indeed great and nearly flawless. It's a comfort knowing my daughter has befriended someone from such a noble family. Rita studied her quietly, taking a sip of her tea. Your family is rich, so you want nothing from Rosalie. That's what she means, she thought. How many times has Rosalie been taken advantage of by people like this? I fear Rosalie's fiancé's absence is greatly upsetting her, Felicia continued. May I ask what kind of man he is? Rita asked politely, setting her cup down. Is he good to Rose? Felicia's expression hardened slightly. In this world, there are always fools who fail to recognize the blessings they've been given. I agree, Rita said with a faint smile. Rosalie is far too good for such people. Felicia's gaze sharpened. What are you suggesting, Miss Rita? Shouldn't you remove a pesky fly from your precious Rose? Rita replied calmly. Felicia's tone grew colder. Hardly a month has passed since you befriended that child. I doubt your concern stems from simple friendship. I abhor your younger brother, Rita said firmly. His Excellency Marquis Proud Carter. That's why I exposed the cruelty of his right-hand man, Jean Lawrence, and I intend to ruin his new lackey, Nathan Hector, as well. Why? Felicia asked, surprised. I always thought Proud was on good terms with the Alberharts. Unless he's a fool, I doubt he'd target your family. Rita's voice trembled slightly. Marcus Carter destroyed my dear friend. 10 years ago, she and her mother fell into ruin. Do you recall Baron Wicker and his daughter, Miss Rita? Felicia froze. Rita, of the Wicker family? She whispered softly. A few days later, Rita returned to the Amber estate. She walked quietly into the garden for a private meeting with Felicia Carter. It seems to me that Rita Wicker died of consumption a few months ago, Felicia said calmly as she sat. Rita's eyes glistened. Yes, I lost contact with her for 10 years, and when we reunited at a charity facility, I found out she was terminally ill, she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. It was just so sudden. Behind her sobs, she stole a glance at Felicia. Even Felicia Carter wouldn't be able to find 10-year-old letters, she thought. She has no choice but to believe me. I cannot imagine what a shock it must have been, Felicia said quietly. Rita was disowned after being accused of illegitimacy, the young woman continued. She told me the mastermind behind it was Marquise Proud Carter. Baron Wicker, Felicia murmured. Do you have any information about him? Rita asked, leaning forward eagerly. Felicia nodded slowly. The decisive factor that caused me to lose to Proud in our family rivalry was none other than Baron Wicker. Rita looked stunned. Pardon? What do you mean? Felicia sighed. My brother and I were equal in every way, so our parents had us each perform a task to prove our worth to the family. While I worked to bring in new trade partners, that boy, Proud, restored our family's power by destroying a household that had gained independence from us, the family of Baron Wicker. Rita's face went pale as realization hit her. So Mother and I were ruined just to settle a family rivalry? She thought bitterly. Oh, my lord, Rita whispered, her hands trembling as the truth sank in. That bastard. He ruined me and my mother over a family rivalry, Rita thought, her fists clenched tightly as hatred for Proud Carter filled her heart. Felicia set her coffee cup down, sighing softly. It's a pity about the young Miss Wicker. If she were still alive, I would have offered her compensation to make amends for my awful brother. Thank you for being so honest with me. I'm sure it wasn't easy, she added gently. Not at all. Thank you for understanding my childish resentment, Marquess, Rita replied calmly, her tears now gone. Felicia's tone hardened. Don't thank me yet. I left the Carter household years ago and have no intention of risking my current happiness. I've given you a hand. Now you'll have to handle the rest yourself. Rita smiled faintly to herself. I came to steal her daughter's fiancé, and since she hasn't objected, I'm already satisfied. Of course, Rita said aloud, smiling sweetly. Felicia studied her. However, Lady Verta, there's something about you, something that reminds me of my old self. She placed a sealed envelope on the table. My brother is the head of the administration. Nathan Hector is merely his lackey. This letter recommends you as a temporary assistant for the administrative division. Use it well, and remove Nathan from Rose's life once and for all. Rita's smile widened as she accepted the document, clearly pleased. Outside the Amber estate, Rita was met by Rosalie and her stepsister Lily as she approached her carriage. Ver? Rosalie called out, surprised. Oh, my Rose, good afternoon, Rita greeted them warmly. You had tea with Mother? Lily asked curiously. You met my mother? Why didn't she tell me? Rosalie added, puzzled. She was very pleased that you invited a friend over, Rita replied with a smile. She asked me to have tea with her and encouraged me to be good friends with you. She said that? Truly? Rosalie asked, her cheeks flushing with happiness. You have a wonderful mother, Rita said kindly. Then she turned toward her coachman. Oh, John, you brought the box, yes? Bring it here. The sisters exchanged confused glances as John approached. Rosalie felt uneasy. His face was expressionless, almost lifeless, as he leaned in slightly. Startled, she clung to Lily in fear. This is my coachman, John, Rita explained with a calm smile. Pay him no mind, he always looks like that. Rosalie peeked up shyly. My goodness, I thought he was a ghost, she thought, her face pale. I see, she stammered while Lily stayed silent, tense beside her. Rose, do you like gifts? Rita asked casually. Pardon? You mean, you're giving this to me? Rosalie asked, surprised. I had it made specially for you. Go on, open it, Rita urged politely. Thank you so much, Ver, Rosalie said happily as she opened the box. Inside were 2 matching rosaries. It's just an old superstition, Rita said softly, smiling. They say that a man and woman who each wear one half will share a long and happy love. Ver, Rosalie murmured, clutching the box, her eyes glistening with emotion. Does your fiancé dislike jewelry? Rita asked casually. No, Nathan doesn't mind such things, and these are so beautiful. How could he ever say no? Rosalie said brightly. I had them made especially for you, Your Highness. Please wear them often, Rita said, pleased. Of course, Rosalie replied, embracing her with joy. Thank you, truly, Ver. I'm so happy we became friends. Rita smiled coldly to herself. Silly Rosalie. Those rosaries are meant to ruin lovers' bonds. Soon I'll steal your beloved fiancé away. Just you wait. At the royal palace, Julie yawned as she walked down the hall. I should be in the royal guard. Yet here I am, stuck as a secretarial assistant handling budgets. I'm going to die of boredom, she thought. As she passed a corridor, she overheard a group of officers talking. Did you see her? One whispered. She's quite pretty, another replied. Julie frowned. What's all this about? The administrative division, you said? One officer asked. That's right, the whole place is in an uproar, the other answered. What in the world is going on there? Julie wondered. Spotting some familiar faces, she called out, Officer James! Officer Alex, pardon the interruption, but where are you heading? Oh, Miss Julia. On your way to work, one of them greeted. We're heading to the administrative division. Why? Did something happen? She asked. Alex smirked. Perhaps. A new assistant started work there today. Word is, she's very pretty. Pardon? Julie muttered, her brow furrowing. Well, we'll be on our way. Have a good day, Miss Julia, they said, waving as they left. How absurd, Julie grumbled, shaking her head. She overheard another group of officers nearby. So what's her name? One asked. Verta, the other replied. You know, the one who testified at the court. Julie froze. Verta Alberhart, she thought in disbelief. Meanwhile, in the administrative division, Rita sat at her desk reading through several documents. Of all days, Nathan Hector chooses today to handle matters outside the office, she thought irritably. He's nowhere to be seen. What if he's already caught on, and now he's just toying with me? In the administrative office, officers murmured among themselves as Rita quietly settled into her seat, focusing on her paperwork. Look at how beautiful she is, one officer whispered, blushing. She's like an angel. And that figure, unbelievable, another said, nearly drooling. Am I some sort of circus attraction to them? Rita thought, keeping her composure as their gazes followed her. Silence, please. A sharp voice cut through the chatter. Such noise during work hours is unacceptable. The entire office fell silent as the woman continued sternly. This is the administrative office of Osland, where we handle important state affairs. If you're an officer who receives wages from the royal family, I suggest you remember your post. Her tone was cold, and the two officers immediately lowered their heads in fear. Let's go. If Officer Heather gets angry, we'll be in trouble, one whispered as they left. So her name is Heather, Rita thought, glancing at her. She certainly has a loud voice, but her appearance is so plain. Perhaps she doesn't care for fashion, or maybe she can't afford to. Heather's sharp gaze fell on Rita. Miss Verta, she called out. Rita rose gracefully and walked to her desk. You're here to work, yes? Heather said, glaring. Then why are you dressed like that? You look as though you're on your way to a garden party. What's wrong with what I'm wearing? My uniform is no different from anyone else's. It's not my fault this body looks beautiful in anything, Rita thought calmly. This is not a ball, Heather continued, raising her voice. This is a place of work. Understand? The other officers exchanged looks as Rita met Heather's stare. So she's the type who pretends to be righteous while criticizing others. There's always one like her, Rita thought. Oh dear, Rita said softly, tilting her head slightly. Does my attire violate the dress code somehow? If you could elaborate, I'll be sure to correct it in the future. Your clothes cling too closely to your body, Heather stammered. A noble woman should be virtuous. Such frivolity is unacceptable. But I had this made at the boutique that provides uniforms for officers, Rita replied. Strange. If they were made at the same place, why is there such a difference between yours and mine? The officers looked on as Heather's face flushed red. So you claim you had no intention to flaunt yourself? Earrings, a bracelet, even a ring. It's obvious you came here to show off. Heather snapped. I don't recall the dress code prohibiting jewelry, Rita said calmly. In fact, both that officer and that one are wearing accessories. She pointed to two female officers nearby. Does this rule only apply to me? Heather froze, realizing how it looked. Now it seems like I'm just envious of her, she thought, her fists tightening. Those officers have never caused any disturbances, Heather said defensively. But you, Miss Verta, have already disrupted the entire office. So that's how she's justifying herself, Rita thought with a faint sigh. Officer Heather, she said politely, Could you please lower your voice? Like you said, I'd hate to disturb everyone further. She sniffed softly, pretending to sound hurt. Heather's eyes widened. What did you just? Before she could finish, several officers interrupted. She's right, Heather. Could you please quiet down? One said. I have to finish this analysis of the provisional budget, another added. Honestly, why raise your voice over nothing? Someone muttered. Ooh, scary, Officer Heather. Others whispered under their breath. Heather gritted her teeth, realizing she had lost face. The more I argue, the worse this looks. Since it's your first day, I'll let this go, she said stiffly. But be more careful in the future. Yes, officer, Rita said, bowing slightly before walking away. Just you wait, she thought to herself, glancing back at Heather. A while later, Julie Shade made her way through the administrative wing, walking with pride. Unlike me, a capable officer of the military, these administrative types are fragile creatures who wrestle with paperwork all day, she thought smugly. As she approached Rita's office, Heather stepped out, visibly annoyed. Excuse me, Julie said politely. I'm here to see my good friend, Verta Alberhart. Is she inside? Heather shot her a dismissive glance. Who knows? Handle your own affairs, she replied curtly, turning away. Julie blinked in disbelief. What a rude woman, she thought as Heather walked off. If you're here for Miss Verta, another officer said, I'm afraid you just missed her. She left not long ago. Left? To meet with whom? Julie asked. You didn't know? The officer said. She went to meet your elder brother, Sir Blaine of the Treasury Department. Julie's eyes widened. What? Outside the administrative building, Rita and Blaine strolled side by side, their hands lightly touching. How did you know it was my first day at work? Rita asked with a gentle smile. A rumor about a beautiful new aide has had the entire division in an uproar, Blaine said, amused. How could I not know? So the rumors reached even him, Rita thought, smiling sweetly. Now that you've seen this beautiful aide for yourself, what do you think? Do I live up to expectations, Mr. Finance Officer? Blaine chuckled softly. So how's your first day going? With Proud Carter away on business, I came here intending to seduce Nathan, but he's nowhere to be found. Then some loud, self-righteous woman picked a fight with me, Rita thought irritably. To be honest, she said aloud, it's been terrible. Are you familiar with Officer Heather? She's a third-degree administrator. Heather Maximilian? Blaine asked. Baron Maximilian's wife? Dark blue hair, short temper? She's married? Rita thought to herself. So there is a man out there willing to marry her. Well, she said with a faint smile, she told me my attire disgraces the sanctity of the royal palace. Tell me, what do you think? She asked, showing off slightly as Blaine laughed. It's a relief. You weren't hired as an assistant for the Ministry of Finance, Blaine said with a smile. Your presence would have driven the officers mad. Our deadlines would have suffered. You have such a way with words. Your tongue drips both honey and poison, Rita teased, giggling. Blaine took her hand, fiddling with her fingers and squeezing them lightly. Heather Maximilian's story is a sad one, Blaine said as they walked. Unlike some aristocrats who seek power or fame, she works because she needs money. All that sanctimony, yet her family is penniless, Rita thought. She wasn't always like this, Blaine continued. Her father was a respectable count, but she fell for the wrong man and ended up in this situation. Do her parents not support her at all? Rita asked. They opposed the marriage, but both insisted on it stubbornly. Now they barely exchange New Year's greetings, Blaine explained. Rita smirked. Blaine stopped, placed a hand on her shoulder, and lowered his voice. Her husband, Baron Maximilian, runs a small jewelry shop in the capital. Even modest sales matter to them. Is that so? Rita said, eyes bright. They make so little as it is. It would be a pity if anyone interfered with their business, she thought, grinning. She hugged him excitedly. Perfect. Blaine smiled inwardly. He found her amusing and unlike anyone he'd met. Back at the administrative building, a level 1 officer introduced himself. It's a pleasure to meet you, Verta. My name is Assyrian. I look forward to working with you. Officer Assyrian, Rita replied with a polite bow. She noted his rank, useful support to have. He told her he had been away on urgent business and asked if she'd met the other officers. Rita said she had, thanks in part to Heather's morning outburst, which had prompted many to introduce themselves. Then Nathan is the only one left, Assyrian said. He accompanied me outside yesterday. He called out, and Nathan Hector, a level 2 official, stepped forward and walked calmly to the desk. Rita watched him approach, glare forming inwardly. Finally, that Nathan Hector, she thought. A Syrian presented them. This is Nathan Hector. Miss Verta will be my assistant. It's her first day, so please show her the ropes. Nathan introduced himself coolly. Nathan Hector, he said. Rita returned the courtesy. Verta Alberhart. It's my first day. I have much to learn, but I'll work hard. Nathan, taken slightly aback by her demeanor, welcomed her to the administrative division. Rita noticed, almost without thinking, the rosary at Nathan's wrist, the same matching rosaries she had given Rosalie. The sight startled her. She remembered Rosalie's joyful hug when she received the gift, and the superstition Rita had mentioned about halves of a rosary binding lovers. Seeing Nathan wear one of them made Rita pause, but she kept her expression composed. No need to rush a dramatic first impression, she told herself. Patience will do. A few days later, Rita rode in her carriage across the grasslands. Where are we going? Yersha folded her arms and asked. First, shopping, Rita said, smiling. After that, I have some personal business. I won't say more yet. She looked at her reflection in the window and replayed the memory of meeting Proud Carter after the court. Eliminating Jean Lawrence was only the beginning, she thought fiercely. When I finish with your people, Proud Carter, you will kneel. She grinned. Perfect day for backstabbing, she mused as the carriage rolled on. Rita sat quietly in the carriage, her expression cold and calculating. She's thinking about destroying someone again, Yersha thought, studying her face. Whoever it is must have deeply offended her. As the carriage rolled through the streets, Yersha turned his gaze outside the window. It's already been 5 years since I first came here, he thought with a faint sadness. This country is wealthier than my homeland, yet I still miss it deeply. Rita glanced at him, admiring his calm profile. Who would guess this Yersha is actually a powerful sorcerer from a distant land? She wondered. Noticing her stare, Yersha turned. Why are you looking at me like that? He asked, folding his arms. You noticed? My apologies, Rita said quickly, looking tense. Why did you assassinate the Sultan of Tatham's mistress anyway? She suddenly asked. It's a bit late to ask that now, Yersha replied dryly. Oh, don't be that way. I've told you everything about myself, yet you've shared nothing. Can we really call ourselves partners? She teased. Partners? He echoed, turning his gaze back to the window. Rita fell silent for a moment, then lifted her hand slightly, showing a ring. You don't have to tell me now, she said softly. If it's too difficult, I understand. Some pains never fade, no matter how much time passes. So now she sees me as some weak fool haunted by the past, Yersha thought, sighing. When we first met, he said after a pause, did you understand what my name meant? Rita remembered his words from long ago, how he said Yersha meant the second flame born from the desert's most brilliant sands. What sort of riddle was that supposed to be? She thought, expression flat. The carriage came to a stop. John knocked lightly. We've arrived, my lady, he said. They say we've arrived, Yersha repeated, rising and offering his hand. Shall we, Miss Verta? They entered a jewelry shop. Welcome, Lady Alberhart, said a man with a bow. I'm Louise, the shopkeeper at Zuckard. It's an honor to have you visit. Louise's eyes discreetly took in her appearance, her pearl earrings, sapphire ring, and graceful composure. Even at a glance, it's clear everything she wears is of the highest quality, he thought. He's not dazzled by my looks, but by my jewelry, Rita observed. Good. He's a man who understands business. Louise led her through the shop, showing her the latest collection. Rita examined the pieces carefully. Not bad, but not impressive either. Still, a good fit for a middle-class family like the Maximilians, she thought. What brings you here today, my lady? Louise asked. Jewelry for an outing, perhaps? A tea party? Rita lowered her fan and smiled faintly. Jewelry is not what I seek. I want the rights to this shop. Her words stunned him. They soon sat with tea as she laid out her proposal. She would invest 500,000 gold coins up front and another 200,000 annually in exchange for ownership. Such an offer. But accepting it would make me an enemy of the Maximilians, Louise thought, uneasy. I've heard your shop recently bought a large quantity of scarlet spinels, Rita said, stirring her tea. They're not as fine as rubies, but they're perfect for autumn. Thank you for the advice, my lady, Louise said politely. For your autumn selection, consider the red fire opal, she continued. It's superior to spinel, but should be priced lower. Louise looked alarmed. But the fire opal is worth more. Selling it for less would bring losses. You can deduct them from the 500,000 I'm investing, Rita said casually. Louise froze, sweat forming at his temple. Even families wouldn't make such generous offers, he thought. Rita lifted her cup, smiling faintly. It's a lot of money just to ruin Heather Maximilian's family, but it's worth it. Once I do, even my parents back in Tatham will come running. She took a slow sip of tea. Yes, this will do nicely. Thank you for watching this episode of our Manhwa recap. We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of this story with us. If you loved the content, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us and helps us bring you even more amazing Manhwa recaps. See you in the next episode.